fifth round of the 2014 Blancpain Sprint Series sees the teams and drivers head to the Algarve in Portugal. The undulating circuit is a real challenge for the drivers, and it usually provides some exciting racing. But first of all, let's look back to the last round in Slovakia. Poleman Cesar Ramos got a poor getaway in his Audi, and that led to a chain reaction at the first corner with a number of cars eliminated. One of them, the championship challengers, Harry Procik and Jeroen Bleekemolen out at the first corner. Ramos there on the left-hand side as we look at the replay of the start. Involved in that was Enzo Eid, and also Nicky Meyer-Melnoff went off into the tyre barriers in the early stages as Alex Zanardi was working hard, he losing out to Marc Basseng in the Phoenix Audi. And that contact meant that Zanardi had to come in to pit with a left rear puncture, and he was out of the race. The Fortec Mercedes had made a good start, running in fourth place in the early stages, but they soon lost out to the HDP Mercedes. And there was the evidence of the damage from the first corner on Cesar Ramos's car, which was severely affecting his handling. But he was the next man to make it past Miguel Toril in the Fortec car up the inside into turn 9 as the Mercedes started to slip back down the order. Vincent Abril had a little look to the inside but wasn't quite close enough to pass the Fortec car. As the pit stops came, it was the 84 machine of Nico Verdonk and Maximilian Goetz that took the lead of the race. Caca Bueno was frustrated. Laurens Vanthoor was now at the wheel of the number 1 car, and he decided to do some rally crossing on the exit of turn 2. He managed to emerge unscathed. A mistake from the race leader then allowed Sergio Jimenez to sweep past and take the lead of the race. A charge was on with Lucas Wolff as he tried to force his way past Alessandro Latifi. But Sergio Jimenez in the 0 BMW was the man in the lead, but not for long, because Dominic Baumann surged past him with a superb move around the outside of turn 6 on the penultimate lap of the race, and it was the Schubert BMW team who took victory, seemingly from nowhere, in only their second event in the Blancpain Sprint Series. Dominic Baumann and Thomas Jaeger onto the top step of the podium in Slovakia, but it's still Maximilian Goetz in the HDP Mercedes that leads the championship. Slovakia was yet another frustrating weekend for Laurens Vanthoor and Cesar Ramos in the number 1 WRT Audi. They won the qualifying race as they have done on previous occasions this season, but it's not coming together when it matters.
It's actually more frustrating than even disappointing, because we qualified the car in every race on the front row with 2 pole positions and 2 qualification race victories, and somehow on Sunday we don't manage to get any result. I think we learned in the last couple of races it's not only about being quick, because we've been quick the whole season, but we have to get our points together, and that's our main focus at the moment.
After Thomas Eng's spectacular crash last time out, the Reiter engineering crew had to build up a whole new Lamborghini. This weekend they're also part of the G-Drive squad with Roman Rusinov.
Obviously the car is quite damaged, but luckily, I survived with all the safety around me, the roll cage, the seat belts. The safety is just amazing on the Lamborghini, so I actually came up from the accident without any injury. At this moment we feel like Lamborghini is the car to have on this circuit, so we'll see throughout the whole weekend, but at this moment we are very positive.
BMW Team Brazil had their strongest meeting in Blancpain last time out at Slovakia, almost winning the main race, with Sergio Jimenez losing out with just a few laps to go. But they know it may be more difficult here in Portugal.
It's a bit tricky for BMW here, because we have turns with second, third gear. That's not our best, but I think we will not have a good qualifying, front row or something like that. When the race we're growing up a lot, so that's my expectation, that we grow a lot in the race and that we can fight for a podium and maybe for a victory.
The Bitec McLaren squad have been gradually improving so far this season, and Giorgio Pantano has made some incredible starts, not least last time out at the Slovakia ring, where he went from 20th to 4th at the first corner. This weekend though, it may be more difficult for he and the team.
We have some issues with the car at the beginning of the season, the first 4 races I would say. We probably find the problem, but we are new on this championship. We are competing with a very strong team, but I believe on this weekend we can be a bit more closer. I'm sure we can do something well this weekend.
They only made their Sprint Series debut in Zandvoort, but Dominic Baumann and Thomas Jaeger have been mighty impressive. Second in Zandvoort and winning the race last time out at the Slovakia ring. Will it be the same story this weekend?
Here at Portimao, the BMW should be quite competitive. The fast corners, we are really good there, and in slow corners we have to find our way, to find a good setup. But overall, it's always a fast car. We won last time, and also with the Pirelli tires, we should be quite good.
After missing the previous round in Slovakia, Max Buch is back at the wheel of the 84 Mercedes alongside Max Goetz. But now that he's missed out on the points from Slovakia, his main focus is going to be helping Goetz to the title.
I think I will try to help Maxi as much as I can because I can't really reach his score of points. I think every race is a bit of a new story. As every main race we have a different winner. So I think it's a bit difficult to say who can be the main rival or not. We just focus on ourselves, and I think that should be the best strategy we have.
Currently leading the Pro-Am standings is Alessandro Latifi and Marc Basseng. Latifi has been learning from Basseng in his first real season of GT racing, and last time out at Slovakia they were running towards the front. They'll be hoping to perform similarly here in Portugal.
That was the first situation we've actually been near the front, so obviously the pressure was quite high for me to bring the car home safely. So for sure, there's now that I've been there and I know what it's like, for sure I've got more performance to give.
The Portuguese squad Sports anew are entering two Mercedes into their home race. Both cars will be in Pro-Am. Antonio Coimbra and Luis Silva sharing one SLS. Paulo Pinheiro is in the other, sharing with Francisco Moura.
It's very nice. The Mercedes here is quite good. It's quite a good car. I enjoy driving about this car, especially here because it's a good circuit to the characteristics of this car. And I think that we have all the things to do a good result here.
To all teams, 10 minutes, 10 minutes. Five minutes to go.
5 minutes, 5 minutes. Feel great, feel great.
Okay, Lorenz, 3-minute signal now. Okay, Stefan, in einer Minute geht's los.
And green light, green light.
Atenção na largada, boa corrida.
Cars coming into final corner. They're with the starter, and we're green.
Go, 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 go!
A very good afternoon and welcome to Algarve in Portugal for the qualifying race ahead of the 5th round of the season in the Blancpain Sprint Series. My name is Jack Nichols. Alongside me here in the commentary box is John Watson. John, yesterday we had glorious sunshine. It's not quite the same today, but it's still pretty warm.
It's still warm, 27.2 Celsius, 33.7 on the track. But look above you, there is a dirty big black cloud. It's sort of hovering over the top of the racetrack. We don't think it's going to dump. It's precipitation. We never know. We just don't know. There's always a wind blowing there. You can get some idea of just a little bit of the wind around this location. But it is concerning. Everybody will be looking at it and thinking, wow, is it going to rain or not?
So it is indeed going to be a very interesting afternoon in terms of the weather, and we'll wait and see what transpires. But as I say, I was running up and down just before we came on air to speak to some of the teams, and they're all saying we don't think so, well, because the wind's blowing in the other direction.
Yeah, I mean that's the other direction. I mean, that's not even a typically good day. A good day here is absolutely no clouds at all. Yesterday and Friday, or sorry, Thursday, were just magnificent. But you know, you never know at a circuit that's close to the foothills. What, 20 kilometres less than that maybe from the coast?
Absolutely. So here's a look at the drivers' standings then as we arrive here in Algarve. Maximilian Buch at the top of the standings on 109 points. And this is the overall GT series. So that is the combination of the Sprint Series and the Endurance Series. So Max Buch is leading that, and he's the defending Endurance Series champion. Laurens Vanthoor second in the overall GT series, with Max Goetz in third position. And that is the new format for this season, with the Sprint Series and the Endurance Series combining, and it's made for a very interesting battle across the two series. The next Blancpain Endurance Series is in the middle of September at the Nürburgring, the Nürburgring 1000, but we're focusing on the Sprint Series here this afternoon in Portimao. It's a circuit that is really quite, well, it's the closest thing to a roller coaster I've experienced on a race circuit.
Yes, and in many respects it's got sort of the atmosphere and feeling of maybe the more traditional circuits. that we were familiar with back in the 50s and the 60s, where they were partly road circuits, not the kind of billiard table smooth, totally flat that we're now having to deal with in terms of that's the future of motorsport. And to bring a circuit, to create a circuit like we have here in the Algarve, I think is great credit to the people that put the money together, had the idea. And there you can just, for example, braking downhill, very bumpy into turn 5, an area where you can overtake, but I can't keep going back to that cloud. Look at it. Yeah. I'm almost rubbing my hands with glee. Maybe one part of the track dry, one part of the track wet. What do you do?
We don't want a situation like in Slovakia, though, where we ended up having the qualifying race red flagged a couple of times because of the rain. But the cars are now on their formation lap then ahead of this 1 hour race as the cars make their way around, and on pole position it'll be Thomas Enger in the G-Drive Racing Lamborghini. G-Drive switching from the Audi squad to the Lamborghini squad, and it's Thomas Enger and Roman Rusinov in that car. Thomas Enger will be starting it. Alongside him on the front row of the grid will be Jeroen Bleekemolen in the Grasser Racing Lamborghini. Stefan Ortelli, René Rast will start third on the grid in the number 2 WRT Audi alongside Maximilian Buch, who's making his return to the championship this weekend. Stefan Ortelli and Laurens Vanthoor are on 5th and 6th spots in the 2 Audis, and then on the 4th row of the grid, Sergio Jimenez in the BMW Team Brazil car is alongside Steph Dusseldorp in the HDP Mercedes. Alessandro Latifi and Chris Vanderdrift complete the top 10 in the Phoenix Racing Audi and the Bytec McLaren. Then we have Lukas Stoltz and Mateusz Lasowski on row 6. Row 7 is Nelson Piquet Jr. and Marcus Winkelhock. Row 8 is Dominic Baumann and Giorgio Pantano. Row 9 is Alex Zanardi and Stefano Colombo. Row 10 is Miguel Toril and Stefan Landman. And row 11 is Paulo Pinheiro and Luis Silva, our 2 newcomers to the series this weekend.
Thing to watch is second row of the grid, Maximilian Buch in the Mercedes. The Mercedes have been consistently the quickest cars across the start-finish line into turn 1. And on this rolling start, expect Maxi Buch to try and do something courageous, and hopefully not foolish, into turn 1.
According to race control, we're going to have a second formation lap. So we're going to see the cars go round the circuit again, just to make sure everything is in place before the action gets underway here at the Algarve, as we look at the very striking Portuguese scenery that we have around here. It's a fun drive into the circuit as well. And
it's certainly a very bouncy one.
Yeah, exactly. And that's something that actually has ended up happening to the racetrack as well.
Yes, it's one of the things. Everything settles down. You make a new facility, a new racetrack, you make new access roads to it, and it's basically just gone across what was the countryside. And once everything settles down, it's not that you're not getting subsidence per se, but everything's just settling, and all of a sudden places that you didn't realize, I think there was a bump, and I'm talking about major ones, you almost take off, you almost yump over some of them. Hopefully not on the racetrack. We don't expect to see anybody getting like airy-fairy over some of the crests and the dips on the circuit, but it is a circuit made up of highs and lows and sweeping curves, particularly out of turn 9 and then the climb up to turn 10 and 11. That for me is the most tricky part of this 4.5, 4.6 kilometre circuit, depending on who actually measured it out, but it's 4.6 approximately.
So we saw Thomas Enger at the front. There are the 2 Mercedes at the back, and they will be started by by Paulo Pinheiro and Luis Silva respectively in the 71 and 72 cars, both of them in the Pro-Am here at their home race in Portugal. They've decided to join the sprint series for a one-off event, and it's great to have them here. We are missing a Portuguese contingent really this year. The last couple of seasons we've had the Nova driver squad with their Audi, and the Nova driver team are actually here running in one of the support races. But there is Thomas Enger in the Lamborghini, and Lamborghini very much the car to have around this circuit. But this is the great thing, is that the Lamborghini is strong in certain corners, but the Mercedes is good in a straight line, and it makes for very close racing.
Yeah, and as you're saying, the Lamborghinis have been very strong because they've got the front row locked out, and it will be difficult to beat them in lap time, but where they may be slightly vulnerable, and I'm talking about maybe only the difference of 3 or 4 kilometers per hour, is at the very end of the straight. So the key to that is going to be who can make the best exit out of that long, it's effectively a double right-hander, turn 15. And it's about balance and grip, and there's probably not a lot to pick and choose between what you'd call a mid-engine, front-engine Mercedes SLS and a mid-engine, rear-engine Lamborghini Gallardo. Gallardo has just sort of taken it by a few tenths of a second, but you just need to be slow or delayed coming through turn 15, and all of a sudden a car can get the draft, can get alongside. The key is to get alongside well before the braking zones, and once you've achieved that, then you've taken control of turn 1. Drivers have been warned, by the way, about exceeding track limits, and track limits at turn 1 is one of those corners that has been highlighted by race director. So something else for us to keep an eye on. Anybody who's abusing track limits and gaining an advantage in particular will be penalised.
So the cars are making their way now around towards the final corner here on the formation lap. They're starting to line up in their side-by-side formation, and it'll be Thomas Enger on pole position in the orange Lamborghini, the G-Drive Racing Lamborghini, as they disappear out of that final corner. Here's the start shot. We're waiting for the red lights to go out. They will only do so when all the cars are over the crest, so that those at the back of the pack can see them as well. You can see it's a very wide start straight as we get ready to go. The red light's about to go out. The qualifying races go here in Portugal, and it's a good start for Jeroen Bleekemolen by the looks of things as they make their way down. Thomas Enger on pole position has got away well, but Bleekemolen's into the lead of the race. Looking up the inside there is René Rast, but it's also a good start from Max Buch, and René Rast is going to get through into third place. All the way around the outside goes for the other WRT Audi. I think that's Laurens van Thor, and oh, that's a big moment. I think that was Ortelli in the 9 car who really hit the curbs hard, and that sent him out wide, but everyone's safely through the first few corners. I think Ortelli might have got a problem from that.
Yeah, into turn 1 and turn 2 there was a problem at the back of the field, but one of the Audis, that may have been Laurens van Thor, went right off racetrack and almost tried to make a position. I don't think he managed it, but certainly that's what I'm talking about. Abuse, in his case, more force majeure.
So through the hairpin of turn 5 they come, and now climbing up through the left-hand kink of 6, but our race leader is Jeroen Bleekemolen. Second place is Thomas Enger, third is René Rast, and fourth at the moment is Maximilian Buch, as they all wind their way now and start to climb the hill. Oh, the two Royal BMWs have hit each other. Zanardi coming together with the 34 car, which has been started by Colombo.
Left front suspension is broken.
And that is a disaster for the team.
Well, and even to make it matters worse, by driving into the gravel trap, he's probably not got enough momentum to get that car out. So the corner workers will have to get to that car as quickly as possible, hopefully before this lap is completed.
So up now they come towards turn number 14, and then into the right-hander of 15 that sees them drop down the hill and through the incredibly quick final corner and out onto the start-finish straight again. So, oh, and there's going to be contact there as well. And that is Alessandro Latifi who's sent spinning.
And he's caught the right rear of the McLaren. It's also now 2 cars. Certainly the McLaren isn't going to go very much further by the looks of that damage. Audi may be able to get going whether there's a tire contact. There is the BMW. That was on the exit of turn 8. McLaren has managed to get a spun around, but I think there's damage to that right rear.
It's Giorgio Pantano then who has collected there, and that's going to be interesting to see whether they can continue. But now look, the battle's on for second place. Thomas Enger under a lot of pressure from René Rast now as they come through the uphill left-hand flick at turn 5 down towards the hairpin of 6. Thomas Enger will surely try and cover the inside line under the heavy braking zone. The Audi really strong on the brakes, not so quick in a straight line, looks to the inside, but he's not quite close enough as they come into the left-hander and now start to climb the hill again.
Yeah, and Rast all over the back of Thomas Enger as they came. Just better drive from the Audi, but in doing so just momentarily loses momentum. That gives Maximilian Buch the opportunity to try and join into this little three-way battle. Buch having to get on the brakes, almost the back end of the Mercedes, moving around as he tried to slow the car up to avoid the contact with the back of the Mercedes. The gap once again just beginning to open up fractionally.
And then they need to be careful because right behind them is Laurens van Thor with Stef Dusseldorp behind, and then Lucas Stoltz. And Lucas Stoltz in a different livery this weekend. The second HDP car is still white and red, but it's another white and fluorescent yellow machine that is Lucas Stoltz's car just behind. So they're all starting to queue up really behind Thomas Enger, who took pole position by 1.5 tenths of a second, so I expected him to be a little stronger at the start of the race.
Just looking behind the Mercedes we've got on camera, we've got Laurens van Thor. He just set fastest sector time in sector 1, so we saw that blinding start around the outside off the racetrack, back in behind the Mercedes, side by side through turn 15, just in the middle of the pack, so we didn't quite pick up who that was as they then make their way onto this main straight. And Jeroen Bleekemolen comes past with a comfortable 1.2 second lead. A lot less comfortable for Thomas Enger, with René Rast and Maximilian Buch following.
Yep, the Mercedes very strong in a straight line. They're the strongest cars in a straight line here this weekend in Portugal, so they've always got the opportunity to try and make a manoeuvre as they now turn through the right-hander. Bleekemolen, Thomas Enger, René Rast the top three, with Max Boot, Van Thor, Dusseldorp and Stoltz completing the top seven. And just behind them is Marcus Fingerlock as we come down once again to the hairpin. And Rast not as close this time in the battle for second position.
But he's also, it looks to me like the Audi is fractionally better down the inside. That's a great pass by the BMW, the
Baumann past Lazowski.
Yep. So that good clean pass, that's what you can do.
Safety car has been deployed.
I'm not surprised, there's traffic and cars all over the place. Watch again, and watch for the Audi on the right of your screen. I think that's Lawrence Van Thor. He's going to come down and suddenly he finds himself at a bit of racetrack where there's no tarmac. He's got to go wide. He runs right wide, gets past Maximilian Buch.
Watch this Audi on the inside get squeezed onto the curb. That was Ortelli.
That was Ortelli.
Think that is... I'm not quite sure if Ortelli's come into the pits yet or not, but we'll have to wait and see, because it looked as though he may have picked up some damage as they come around the left-hander. And here's a replay of the two BMWs coming together, and well,
yeah, I mean that's just, I mean, Zanardi got tagged by the sister car, and then Zanardi then proceeds to gun it and catches the back of the 34 BMW, which then suffers that right front suspension failure. Again, unnecessary contact, and that was Pantano being overly ambitious, and in a sense you might say got us just rewards, because the Audi reversed back or rolled back, caught the back of the McLaren. So Giorgio Pantano has had to make a pit stop as well, as we look at the safety car down now at turn one. Red flag, red lights are being shown.
I think they're just the orange ones.
Yes, just to indicate that we are in a safety car context. So what, less than 10 minutes of this race is 10 minutes.
Frantic start, isn't it, here at Algarve? And so 10 minutes gone. Your own Bleekemolen is behind the safety car, and that's the reason that we've got the safety car out here, because when the 34 Audi of Stefano Colombo tried to recover onto the circuit, he drove off into the gravel trap.
Yeah, I mean, he was tagged in a way, and then he got into the gravel trap, and with your left front suspension hanging off and not enough momentum, you ain't going to get that car out of it. And the gravel traps are doing precisely what they're there to do, to bring a car to a standstill. They're not meant to be driven out of, they're ineffective if you can drive out of them. Consequence is, at that part of the racetrack, the car is too close to the exit of turn 8. It's not a particularly quick corner, but it's a corner that, if there was another incident there, then you would have a more serious problem.
So there is Stefano Colombo walking away, fairly dejected to have his race end so soon. Zanardi is still going. He's got a new livery this weekend in recognition of his success in the Handbike World Championships, where he successfully defended his gold medal in the time trial, had other successes and medal finishes there as well. So the team surprised him with a new livery, and he said, "Oh, I'll be really careful, I don't want to scratch it this weekend."
Well, if he scratches that new livery, particularly the roof of the car, then he would have a big major. I mean, that would be something to be concerned about. But also there are acknowledgements of what Alex Zanardi is doing in his life outside of a racing car on the sides of the, you can just see the tail of the car. That yellowy gold is the hard top and the roof of the Z4M.
Who have been the biggest winners and losers from this? Lucas Stoltz in 7th place is leading the Silver Cup. It's Stefan Landmann now. He and Sasha Halleck in the 27 Lamborghini are leading the Pro-Am class, but they're down in 14th place at the moment. This will be good news for Thomas Enger, because it'll allow him to close back up to the back of Bleekemolen for the lead of the race. Max Boot running in 4th place. That's a good points position for him. And here's a replay of the start again, and Bleekemolen just got a better getaway and took the lead of the race. Enger managed to do well to hold on to that second spot, but it's this middle black Audi here. Keep an eye on that. It gets passed by Van Thor around the outside and then goes to the inside of the Mercedes. The Mercedes then closes the door, and Ortelli's forced over that curbing on the inside.
In fairness, I think you have to say Stefan Ortelli was being somewhat aspirational and believing he was going to get that position, where there's again a closing gap. The Mercedes was going to take its line, and the Audi wasn't sufficiently far forward. Gets well and truly airborne, and no doubt when it crashed down, not doing the left front suspension or any of the suspension any good at all. And in the process, poor Giorgio Pantano, we sort of blamed him for the incident we saw a little bit later with one of the other Audis, the Phoenix Racing Audis. So he might have, and there's the reason why the safety car has been deployed, the contact between the two BMWs, and then sort of the secondary reaction or contact, which then led to the left front suspension failure. That is just, I've never seen a suspension fail, and this is the incident we saw then a little bit later in the lap. Pantano tagging the back of the Audi. The Audi rolls back, catches the right rear of the McLaren, which in turn spins that around. So there is the BMW finally in the back of the, what you would call that, a wrecker or not, but there is another issue with the bits of bodywork, carbon fibre particularly, which is always the scourge of modern motorsport. Material is a fantastic material and it saves lives basically. It gives great structural integrity, but if it gets shattered on a racetrack, it just will cut down a tyre quicker than you could say, cut a tyre down. That took quite a long time to say.
It did actually, yeah.
I think you probably find the carbon would go through the tyre more quickly than the time it took me to say that.
Yeah, we saw a glimpse of Roman Rusinov, teammate of Thomas Enger in the G-Drive team, who started off with an Audi in the WRT squad, but have now moved to Lamborghini. It's certainly paid dividends with a pole position, but they've lost the lead at the start of this race. And the safety car will be in this lap, so the car's just climbing up to the highest point on the circuit.
Yeah, it's just come out. That's turn 10. Now, turn 11. Now, to me, they're almost one corner, but they are defined as being two separate corners, and the entry to turn 10 is difficult to spot. But it's critical to get it right, because it's the exit of turn 11 where you will lose all the time if you make an incorrect judgment as to where to place the car at the entry point.
So your own Bleekemolen managing the pace, managing the safety car restart here, because the safety car has pulled in. Bleekemolen drops the throttle and away he goes. Let's see who can stay with him as we go back racing here in Portimao. It's a good restart from Van Thor. He's right up the back of Max Buch, and Max Buch actually has lost a few positions as they flash through this final corner. Absolutely fantastic to see. And then there's a big old gap back to the Audi there. So Marcus Winkelhock, I don't know what's happened to him, but he must have a problem. He's coming into the pits.
Yes.
Has Winkelhock got some sort of puncture
I
possibly?
think he may have a puncture. His car looks slightly unstable, didn't look at racing speed coming through turn 15 as we go back to the front of the field and the two Lamborghinis. The big loser there was Maximilian Buch, as if he was getting caught out. There, the second and the McLarens, and Dominic Baumann in the BMW having their own little private battle, and the BMW much quicker on the exit of the corner, mainly because I think McLaren took the sort of the line that was
and they were all
good for overtaking, but not necessarily quickest line.
They were all held up behind Winkelhock was the problem, and so that created a really good overtaking opportunity, because obviously no one could pass Winkelhock before the safety car came in. So that means Chris van der Drift is up into 8th place in that McLaren. 9th behind is Dominic Baumann. 10th is Mateusz Lizowski, but he's got Sergio Jimenez trying to go around the outside, but he's unable to do so. So Lizowski holds on to that 10th place, and Jimenez is now under pressure from Nelson Piquet behind him. So there's a real gap now between the top 7 and then the following cars. Well, it's not as simple as a puncture, is it? There seems to be a bit of concern, but here's the battle now for the lead of the race. Your own Bleekemolen leading in the 28 Lamborghini. Second place is the number 3 orange G-Drive Lamborghini of Thomas Enger, and then it's René Rast behind them on a charge, trying to climb up the field.
And it's actually Maximilian Buch right now on what we are on lap 7. Is quickest in sector 2, personal best in sector 1. So he got dropped at the restart. Now beginning to, because he's got that little bit of clear air, he can run actually at a more natural pace than the pace that's going to be dictated once he catches back up to the rear of René Rast. Audi car number 2 in picture.
Out onto the start-finish straight they come then. Just under 44 minutes to go here in the Algarve, and it's your own Bleekemolen who's just set the fastest final sector of anyone. He's the man leading the way there. That's 0.978 seconds back to Thomas Enger in second place, with René Rast right up behind him as they come down towards the tight right-hander. And this is a bit of action, isn't it? Up the inside, this is still the battle between Lizowski and Jimenez has finally made it through. Nelson Piquet might try and follow through as well as they come down into the right-hander, and he does so well. Lizowski's trying to hold on around the outside. That is good stuff from the pole, and he's managed to hold the place. That's going to compromise both of them though. Here comes Stefan Landman in the Grasser Racing Lamborghini behind. Can he try and take advantage of that battling? He looks to the inside, and yes, he's going to get both of them. Is he down into the hairpin? Good work from Stefan Landman. No, Lizowski's still there, still holding on. Good racing.
Feisty racing in the midfield pack. Best entertainment right now. What we're seeing at the front of the field is the domination of the two Lamborghinis. René Rast hanging in there by 0.3 of a second. Max Barman, he's now fastest Sector 1, so he's not given up hope of getting on the podium.
Fastest Sector 2 of anyone for your own Bleekemolen. Pulls out another tenth or so over Thomas Enger, so the gap is now over a second between first and second place. As we crest the hill with this squabble, which is ultimately with that front BMW over 10th position. As this is now the battle for second place. There is René Rast in the number 2 WRT Audi. Pit stop window opens in 7 minutes time. I imagine most of these front runners will stay out for as long as possible because the majority of them are the quicker of the pairings.
Yes, and also because the safety car came in and gave them another 2 laps where the tyre was not under pressure. So you'd assume that if you're going to be Bleekemolen, Enger, Rast or Barman, even down to Van Thor in 5th place, they're going to stay out, certainly beyond the opening of the pit lane window.
No further action has been deemed necessary in the collision between Giorgio Pantano and Alessandro Latifi. Both, I think, are still going. No, Pantano's coming to the pits. Latifi is still going. He's in 16th place at the time. As they now come into the hairpin, and this is Stefan Ortelli, who's only just in front. Actually, I think he's just got past Miguel Toril. Yes, so Ortelli's just got past Toril as he tries to climb his way up the order, and he's got past Zanardi as well. So Ortelli's gone from 18th up to 14th at the start of this lap.
Yeah, but Ortelli, of course, had to make that pit stop because of the little bit of low flying he did coming through the curve into turn 2.
Oh yeah, so he's a lap down actually, yeah, so my apologies. Yeah. So Ortelli is still in 18th place. He's got past those guys, but he's still a lap down, and he's got a long afternoon ahead of him, I think, Ortelli.
Well, the trouble is he's got a car that's quicker than the cars that are around him, but he's got the same usual problem that how do you find a way past? As we look at this, the tail end of this leading group of cars as they drop down turn 11.
Right up behind René Rast. Mercedes strong at this Algarve circuit, and he's trying to work a position. If he can be this close compared to René Rast out onto the start-finish straight, he's going to have a really good opportunity because the Mercedes is very slippery in a straight line. He needs to be careful though because Laurens Vanthoor's right up behind him.
Exactly, the key for Maximilian Buch is not to be too close coming to turn 15 because you'll lose a little bit of front-end grip, but to try and use the slipstream as it is of the rear of the Audi. 275 kilometers per hour was the fastest speed on the straight over the weekend from Maximilian Buch. Now René Rast having to go defensive, goes to the right, forces Buch to go wide to the left, tries to go around the outside, but making the cutback. That's what the young German, as opposed to the slightly older German. I mean, he's only 28, René Rast, so I mean, it's all relative.
But he needs to be careful because the going wide into that first corner allowed Vanthoor the chance to have a little look. Then there's the other 2 HDP Mercedes behind, and this could be the chance for Steph Dusseldorp in the 85 Mercedes. He got a very good run through the uphill left-hander. Down towards the hairpin they come, and watch out for the Audi just behind this lot. Here we go, and it's Vanthoor who holds the place for the time being. Good racing in the middle of the pack, and this is good news for Thomas Enger because he has now managed to sprint clear up in second place.
Dusseldorf trying to get along, but it's the wrong side of the racetrack to go up into turn 7 and then back in on the gears, down the brakes into turn 8. That's where the contact occurred, and very close indeed between the nose of the Mercedes and the tail of the Audi, but they managed to do it without contact. Now up the hill, the blind apex, you've got to find it somewhere. Spot it, stays behind Vanthoor as they make it into turn 11.
Car 6 is reportedly slow on the circuit. That is Marcus Vingelock, and I just wonder if that's reminiscent of their problems they had in qualifying. They had gearbox issues. The electrics with the gearbox weren't functioning properly, and I wonder if that's what afflicted them after the safety car came in. But back to this battle for third place, and Max Buch is right up behind René Rast. He hasn't got the best drive off the final corner,
but again, it's just get the position. He's going to have another look, but the gap again as Rast is able to use the Audi to its full effect and maintain the advantage, and denies Buch the opportunity. The speed the Mercedes has got is going to be at the end of the straight, by which time it's really too late. You've got to get your pass done before you get into the braking zone.
Meanwhile, Thomas Enger closed in on your own Bleekemolen on that last lap. Just 1.1 seconds now. The gap, it came down by 0.4 of a second. So Thomas Enger starting to find his groove as we see the second 2 HTP Mercedes climbing up through the left-hander and out onto the short back straight, I suppose, that runs parallel with the main start-finish straight here in Portimao, and down to the hairpin. The GT6 car is in the hands at the moment of Lucas Stoltz before handing over to his teammate Lucas Wolff. Jeroen Bleekmolen leading the way. Thomas Enger is coming at him, as I say, faster on that last lap, faster in the first sector on this lap, and we'll wait and see what sort of times he managed to pull out in the middle sector. But look how close it is for third place again. Max Buch right up behind René Rast as they drop down the hill.
And really, René Rast is sort of hanging on for this third place with all the skill he's got in these Audis R8 V10s. Maximilian Buch got a car in this situation, the quicker of the two cars. But of course, where do you find your way past? You've got the straight line speed, but where it counts coming through turn 14, you're seeing René Rast able to consolidate. The car runs wide in the exit of 14, the back end steps out, almost cocks a wheel in the air as it comes through turn 15. You know, the German driver in the Audi is absolutely unmatched, I would say, in an Audi these days.
Look at the battle for the lead of the race.
Closed up again.
0.6 of a second. So on that last lap, there was another half a second that came out of the lead. So it's nose to tail between the two Lamborghinis. There's only half a second between third and fourth as well. So it's all brewing up quite nicely. The pit stop window will be open by the time they finish this lap, as we see Chris van der Drift now doing battle with Sergio Jimenez over 9th place. Jimenez has closed in on van der Drift and is trying to find a way past the New Zealander. Up in front of them is Dominic Baumann, who's running by himself really, but is on the pace of the leaders. So Baumann running very quickly, but he's all alone in 8th position.
Well, that just sort of sums up the need to be at the front of a grid, because your lap time might match that of the leading group of cars, but if you're caught and you can't effectively make any ground, then that's a real frustration.
Baumann's actually just set the first sector of anyone, a 32.822, and that's interesting because they were saying they just don't know how to get the best out of the new tyres. They cannot get on it when they've got new tyres. We saw that in Slovakia, the qualifying was poor, but in the race they've got no issues.
Well, I mean, sometimes when you've got a car that's easy on its tyres, it's very difficult to get the performance out when you've got a brand new set. But when you put all the fuel on board that you require for a 1 hour race, the car takes on a different dynamic, and therefore you put energy into the tyre, which then makes the tyre begin to work. The car comes to you, the handling comes to you. And this battle again, I'm sure, with René Rast and Maximilian Buch would be looking for a little bit more from their car. Thomas Enger right on it again, coming through turn 15.
A little wiggly as he came out of the final corner. The pit stop window is now open. I'm not imagining any of the top 7 or 8 to come into the pits, but we'll wait and see as they stream across the line now. It's just, well, it's less than half a second for the lead of the race. Jeroen Bleekmolen against Thomas Enger, and what a pair to do battle that is. So experienced, the pair of them, so quick, and this is going to be a very interesting battle of wits.
Well, I think we'll again see the BMW and the McLaren down into turn 1. Again, the problem the BMW has got, it is basically, of all the cars here, it's the slowest in a straight line. Quick off turn 15, that's where it's gaining the advantage, but we can't do very much with the McLaren, it's just too soon. Let's look and see how much of the track, now that is exceeding track limits, but you know, you do what you do, and you've got a car that's quick in a corner, but at the end of the day, the race director is going to see that, and he's going to say, I'll let you do it once, but you get a warning. Do it twice, I'm going to get upset. 3 times, you may face a drive-through. The gap is extended slightly now, just it's just that seesaw effect. I mean, there'll be bits of the track where Thomas Enger is right under the rear wing of Jeroen Bleekmolen's car. Look again, you see the closing as they come into turns 10 and 11. So I don't know whether there's an issue for the lead car, and that it's maybe his tower performance is just ebbing away and Thomas Enger's fine performance. But this battle here right now is certainly enthralling.
Yep, and here comes the race leaders. And in fact, it seems to me on this lap they've all sort of closed in. It seems like third place man René Rast is a bit closer to the 2 Lamborghinis than he has been previously as well. So we'll keep an eye on that. Yeah, Rast took 0.3 of a second out of Thomas Enger in the middle sector. So let's see what the lap times are.
Buch is
Into
in.
the pits comes Maximilian Buch then. He's coming in to hand over to Maxi Goetz as they come down towards turn 1.
And you know what's happened? That's released now Laurens van Voor, who has been really trailing the Mercedes all the way through. Now he's got clear air. He's sort of going to laser into the back of Thomas Enger in 2nd place Lamborghini.
Also into the pits then come Chris van der Drift and Sergio Jimenez. So that frees up a bit of space for Stefan Landman in the second Grasser Racing Lamborghini to see what he can do. But there now is René Rast getting back into the action with second place man Thomas Enger. So quite a dramatic toing and froing of gaps between these cars so far.
Yeah, I mean, there there's an Audi car in there. You can, on the door, the graphic of his Olympics wheelchair bicycle, isn't it?
Yes, he won the handbike World Championships last week in Italy in the time trial, defended his gold medal, and so they liveried up that car especially. There's René Rast, third place for the very quick German, as they now drop down through the right-hander. So we've got a Dutchman, a Czech and a German and a Belgian in the top 4 positions. 2 Lamborghinis and 2 Audis. When will these guys decide to come into the pits? And who will be the strongest in the pits when they do come in? That's going to be the big question now, because when it's so close on the circuit like this, the pit stops can really make a big difference. Through comes your own Bleekemolen. He's going to stay out. Do any of them dive in? No, but René Rast dives very wide.
He certainly gets it as far wide as you want to be. But of course, when your own Bleekemolen comes in and he's handing over to Harry Project, who, if you want to call him an amateur or not professional, in my view, is a very capable driver. Romanov in the sister car that's going to be given by Thomas Enger, maybe not as the same level as Project at this point. So you've got to think that the lead car is capable of consolidating, assuming they get a clean pit stop. But look at René Rast, again, hunting down Thomas Enger, second place coming through turn 4.
And watch out for the next BMW that's about to come to a shot was Dominic Baumann. He's still on a charge, and he's closing in rapidly to the cars in front. He's lapping about half a second a lap quicker than the HTP Mercedes in front of him. So Baumann looking strong. The cars now come through the right-hander.
In fact, you're talking about Dominic Baumann, sorry to cut across you, but he's not only lapping quicker, he's lapping considerably quicker than the lead Lamborghini by about 0.8 of a second a lap.
Yep, impressive stuff from Baumann as they come over the crest once more. A report that Stefan Landman spun and rejoined at turn 13 on the circuit. So
a strange corner to spin at, not somewhere that you would normally expect to see a car coming through turn 12 right now up to the left-hander at turn 13. Normally see too much action at that part of racetrack.
So we're at the halfway point in the race, less than 30 minutes to go here in the Algarve, and it's your own Bleekemolen leading the way. Thomas Enger there second in the G-Drive Reiter Engineering Lamborghini. Third place and fourth place are the 2 WRT cars of René Rast and Laurens van Thor.
Who's going to blink first?
What a big moment!
Oh, he got it squirrely.
And that loses him second position and third position as well. What a big moment that was for Thomas Enger. He held it all together, but has he now lost the chance to battle for the lead of the race? He's side by side with the Audi as they come down the start-finish straight, but Van Thor will have the inside line and he'll move through into third place.
Well, I'd like to see a replay of that, because it looks like Thomas Enger turned the car in quite aggressively, but the back said, sorry Thomas, ain't going to watch the back of the car. There she goes. He had to get out of the throttle on that one, because otherwise it was going to continue going round, and René Rast said, thank you Thomas, I'll take that any day of the week. And not only that, Laurens van Thor was watching as well. He's got momentum, he's about to pile up and get alongside Thomas Enger as they come down. So from second all the way down to fourth position.
Yep.
What a disappointment. And also Steph Dusseldorf, he's going to be in the fight. A quick car in a straight line who's been gathering momentum, watching what's been going on ahead, being drawn into this battle now over second place.
And this will be interesting as well, because Max Book has already come into the pits. Max Goetz now is out there, and he's just done a 45.7, which is a second quicker than René Rast on that last lap.
I think that could be the smart pit stop of this race, because by getting in early, giving that car over to Maximilian Goetz, who more than capable of matching Maximilian Book, getting back out in relatively clear air, not having to drive defensively or in an attacking manner. So when these 4-5 cars, they're going to have to come in. We've got 3 minutes before this pit stop window closes, so they're going to have to do it this lap, or when they compete one more lap, they'll have no choice.
So there's your own Bleekemolen in the lead of the race. René Rast in second place. We of course don't know how quick the pit stop was for Book and Goetz as they come out of the final corner. And Thomas Enger, not only did he have that moment, but since then he's really seemed to have lost his pace because all over the back of him now is Stef Dusseldorp. There is reports of rain on the circuit, and I think that might even be a bit of sort of rain you can see on the camera lens. And here comes Dusseldorp. He's going to get the inside line, and he's going to take 4th place away from Thomas Enger. The Mercedes goes through, and Enger goes down into 5th position now.
Well, we don't know whether that was a rain on the track up at turn 15 a couple of laps ago when Thomas Enger lost his 2nd position. But there is rain on the camera lenses now at the far end of pit straight. So there will be some moisture. It's not sufficiently heavy for anybody to be concerned about, but you need to keep a view because they're going to make their mandatory pit stops within this lap. They're going to come in at the end of this lap to get it all done. Do they stick with the slick tire? Yes. But are they worried that the rain might fall and they could then have to come back in again and then get the double pit stop? Quite possible.
It's going to be slicks for the G-Drive Lamborghini, and slicks really at the moment the only option because the rain is nowhere near properly coming down. The track's nowhere near wet enough.
It isn't. The thing is, are you sure weatherman, or the guy who sticks his finger in the air and says it's coming from that direction, is he going to be accurate enough and say what we have got on turn 1 is really forget about it? We don't believe it's going to have a full, wet race track, so we're going to go with the slicks. Take the judgment, and also, if everybody else is going in slicks, don't go the opposite direction.
Into the final corner comes our race leader, Jeroen Bleekemolen, but now we're going to have some action in the pit lane because all of these cars are going to have to peel to the right and come into the pits. Look at those clouds, and that was a lot of speed taken through from Van Thor. So in they all come. And basically the man we're going to be waiting for, and look how close Dominic Baumann is now to the back of this lead pack, having started well down the grid. But the man we're going to be looking for is the 84 Mercedes of Maximilian Goetz. He's going to be the man to watch. He's in 9th place at the moment. He's in the 2nd sector as it stands, but will he be able to get out anywhere near these guys up at the front? There's Enger handing over to Rusinov.
Yeah, I'm trying to look out of the commentary booth, which is literally facing the start-finish straight, to see if those black clouds are actually doing anything at all, hovering over the racetrack. It looks dark in turn 1 and around turn 2. Hasn't rained heavily enough to make anybody concerned. There's the Lamborghini rolling. Harry Project, great pit stop from the whole team.
So then out in 2nd place will come Enzo Eid. He looks like he's pulled out behind Harry Project, but where is the Mercedes?
There it is.
Is that it there, just coming through on the right-hand side? No, it's not. It's the older, it's the Pro-Am Mercedes. This is the one to watch out for, coming down the hill now, and it is going to be the lead of the race for Harry Project, but it's 2nd place now for Maximilian Buch, who's now handed over to Max Goetz.
The key is he's up to speed. Harry Project's just left the pit lane. He's got fresh rubber on. He's going to be gobbled up by the German, if not into turn 4, but into turn 5 at the hairpin. He's got the momentum, he's got the warm tires, he knows what the car feels like and handles like. Harry Project's going to be looking in the mirror wondering, what can I do to defend? Well, he can really try and outbrake the Mercedes, but Goetz up the inside should have the drive off the corner.
He's done a good job there.
Harry Project certainly is not afraid to put his foot in it.
That is impressive stuff from Harry Project. Don't forget, these are the two men battling for the lead of the championship. Maximilian Goetz currently 18 points clear of Harry Project and Jeroen Bleekemolen in the championship standings. We've only got 2 rounds to go after this in Zolder and Azerbaijan. So this is very much the battle for the championship we're seeing on the circuit, and Project just needs to keep it all together for a lap or so until he can get his tyres up to temperature.
And also Max Goetz has got to be, in a sense, both attacking but also patient. Look above, you can just see how much of that darkness is now covering the entire circuit. He's going to have one more opportunity before Harry Project gets into the groove, and that's going to be after they come through turn 14, the first of these 2 off-camber, downhill, right-hand corners. Maximilian Goetz needs to be closer to the tail of Harry Project, because Project's opened up the best part of half a second of a gap, and once he gets through turn 15, he's home and dusted, in a sense. The opportunity that existed for Maximilian Goetz literally a lap ago is gone.
Thumbs up from Stef Dusseldorp. So across the line comes Harry Project leading the way. Max Goetz is 2nd. It's 3rd place for Enzo Eid, 2.2 seconds back from this battle. Cesar Ramos is in 4th place. It's 5th for Sergei Afanasiev, 6th now for Roman Rusinov in the G-Drive Audi, and 7th place is, G-Drive Lamborghini, and 7th place is now Thomas Jaeger, who's taken over from Dominic Baumann in the 76 Schubert BMW. But if Max Goetz keeps doing that, he could get telling off.
And also Enzo Eid doing the same thing. Maximilian Goetz driving the Mercedes, Maximilian Buch, watching, you could see his face thinking, ooh, my teammate needs to be careful not to do that again. Again, Maximilian Buch beginning, as we look again at the replay of Maximilian Buch, runs wide, not only runs wide, he gets all four wheels over that red and white track, if you like to call it delineation, and just got to do what you do, but you've got to remember that these track limits are there for a purpose, they're not there to be abused.
Vincent Abril is now leading the Silver Cup ahead of Lucas Wolff, so that's an interesting change of position. They're down in 8th and 9th positions, 3.4 seconds separating them, so interesting to see whether there's any progression made there. And the teams have been told to respect the track limits at turn 1, as well as every other track out there, and the race has technically been declared wet a couple of laps ago when the rain started to come down, just so that you are allowed to change to wet tyres if you wanted to, but it's fully slick conditions for the moment, but it's getting darker out there as the cars make their way out onto the start-finish straight again. Harry Project leading the way in the Grasser Racing Lamborghini, second place, right up behind him Max Goetz, just half a second between them, and then Enzo Eid has dropped back a little bit from them on this lap, so it's 2 for the lead, Harry Project, and that man, Max Goetz.
Yeah, and he's frustrated because he had that opportunity, just didn't quite get his Mercedes into position, down into the hairpin at turn 5. Again, fractionally quicker into turn 3 than the uphill. I mean, it's a good little corner, doesn't quite overrun the exit of turn 4, but down into turn 5 is the opportunity that was unfortunately for Max Goetz not available. Harry Project did a really strong job in defending and got the drive, got the bite from the rear of the Lamborghini, and got there for the acceleration up through turn 6 into turn 7.
Here is the battle now with Thomas Jaeger, who's closed into the back of Roman Rusinov very quickly indeed. And Jaeger could be looking at getting as high as 5th here, because that's the 5th place car in the hands of Sergei Afanasyev. Then it's Roman Rusinov, the 2 Russians nose to tail on the circuit. And then behind them is the very quick Slovakian race-winning car of Thomas Jaeger. So let's see what that BMW has. They struggle in a straight line, but we know that they can be quite imaginative with their overtaking opportunities. Look at that, 2.2 seconds and 9/10 of a second. Jaeger's been taking out of Rusinov in these last couple of laps.
Yeah, there's no surprise because Thomas Jaeger, a professional driver, very capable driver, which we saw in Slovakia, and Roman Rusinov, more from the gentleman side, but he would like to be thought of as a professional driver, maybe, and he's having pressure. This is the BMW, the Schubert BMW that was so impressive 2 weeks ago in Slovakia. So it's really in the hands of Thomas Jaeger to see whether he can hunt down the Lamborghini. Same problem that maybe Dominic Barman faced, that they don't have the straight line speed. It's key here in Portimao, but a car over a lap as quick, if not quicker, than anything else.
Team manager of car 28 and 27, i.e. the Grasser Racing team manager, which is Gottfried Grasser, has been called to race control immediately, and there is Gottfried, and he's not quite on his way. He's about to take his headset off and head up to race control by the looks of things to find out what's going on. I can only imagine that may be some sort of pit lane potential infringement or something.
That's all. We didn't see anything. That, remember, it was a very quick pit stop for that the lead car, Harry Project behind the wheel of the lead car. So whether something occurred in that, whether maybe a nut coming off a wheel gun or a wheel not being picked up and put back in a safe position, any number of different things. Hopefully, if there is a problem, we will be able to bring that to you as soon as we hear.
So these guys are now starting to close in on the 72 car of Antonio Combra in the Sports a New Mercedes SLS that have entered for this weekend. And hopefully he will just get out of the way. And it is apparently a pit stop infringement that
it's interesting, both the cars, cars have got the same problem. And there Jerome Blekemolen, he'll feel absolutely, well, you can imagine what. But this is going to be the problem for Harry Project. He's going to catch this Mercedes they're about to lap in the tricky part of turn 15. He needs to again be slightly off the throttle to ensure he doesn't overrun that Mercedes, which is now going to be overtaken by Harry Project. But look at Maximilian Goetz, he sees this as an opportunity, and the Mercedes is actually able to pull away. This is the story of the weekend for me, that the straight line speed of the Mercedes has been all 6 cars have been the quickest cars consistently.
This could be real danger for Harry Procek. He looks to the inside. The Mercedes sees him coming. Coimbra moves out of the way, but that has allowed Maximilian Goetz to close in just a little bit as they crest the hill. Not quite enough to make too much of a drama of it, but that could have been a more worrying moment than it turned out to be for Harry Procek. I'm sure he was worried. But with only 17 minutes to go, these are our championship battlers in first and second place in the order that they finished for 3 races in a row. Both races at Brands Hatch and the qualifying races at Zandvoort finished in this order, and that allowed Procek and Bleekemolen to close in. But a retirement last time out in the main race of Slovakia means they're 18 points behind Max Goetz at the moment in the 84 car in the lead of the championship.
So nothing's really changing between the 2 lead cars. They're matching one another pretty much all around the circuit. The differences between the 2 cars are illustrated in different sectors of the circuit. Again, look, this dark, well, it's moving away, but there's still a lot of...
It's all around, isn't it? I don't
it's
know
all
how
around, but
it.
it's none of it is actually now directly. If I look up towards turn 1 from the commentary booth, I'm now seeing much brighter skies, so hopefully that's all forgotten about, not going to have a bearing on the remaining 16 and a half minutes of this race.
Down towards the final corner comes our race leader, Harry Procek. They've won 2 qualifying races so far this season at Brands Hatch and at Zandvoort. There is Coimbra running behind, and he's got Enzo Ede about to make a move on him. The blue flag's being waved for the back marker as they come across the line with 16 minutes to go. Enzo Ede still the same, 2.7 seconds behind. Cesar Ramos not really putting in much dent on Enzo Ede's advantage. They're lapping very similarly. And he's now going to pass that's all got a bit close in there, and do they touch? That got very, very close as Enzo Ede was trying to lap Antonio Coimbra.
Well, it was a legitimate manoeuvre, but Coimbra just either unaware or just froze with not knowing quite what to do as the 3rd place Audi forced its way through the inside to the ground from the Mercedes. Was being lapped. It was required basically to give space to Enzo Ede, but sometimes all your focus is looking forward and not in your mirrors or paying attention to flags around the racetrack.
So that'll compromise Enzo Ede a little bit. Here's a look at the replay, and he goes to the inside. I think there was a touch.
Well, Enzo Ede's giving plenty of space, and the Mercedes just comes across, and there was contact, you're right, there was a little bit side to side. And that's, I just suspect Combat didn't even have a clue that Enzo Ede was going to either attempt the pass legitimately because he was alongside or not, and he just took what he thought was line, and there's a car there.
Now it's Cesar Ramos' turn to try and get past Coimbra as they climb up the hill. Ramos goes to the inside, and he knew the score that time.
Suddenly, I do pay for the 2 mirrors in this car, and he's used them, and he's opted to then get out of the way, let a quicker car that's putting a lap on that Mercedes-Benz get through.
Here at the 2 Brazilian BMWs currently running in 10th and 11th place, Caca Bueno and Matheus Stump, with Marc Basseng right behind them. So surprised not to see those 2 BMWs a little higher up, because they had a good qualifying performance. Nevertheless, they are under a lot of pressure now from Marc Basseng, who's currently still leading the Pro-Am class despite that car being spun around on the opening lap with Alessandro Latifi at the wheel, and Gottfried Grass has got the regs out here.
Yes, he's been up to see the stewards, and they've said we think there was an infringement at the pit stop. He's now got the rules regulations out. I mean, I remember in Slovakia when after the race, Nicky Meyer-Meldenhoff came steaming down after their car had been penalised, particularly on the restart after the red flag, and he had the rules in his hand as well. And I mean, the amount of energy you could have powered a city for about 2 days.
Up through the left-hander come the 2 Brazilian BMWs. Caca Bueno leading the way with Matheus Stump behind. Caca Bueno, a multiple Brazilian stock car champion. Matheus Stump, Brazilian GT champion twice over in 2010 and 2011 when he was racing with Valdeno Brito for the AH Competitions Ford GT. And he was also a 3 times Formula 1.6 Gaucho champion.
Well, no doubt that will sort of be of... I'll leave that, I'll pass. I'll pass. And all you can say is he probably cooks a really good T-bone steak.
Through the left-hander come the Brazilians then, with the German Marc Basseng right behind them. And Stump has dropped back a little bit from Caca Bueno in the last lap or so, so that's giving Marc Basseng more of an opportunity, but The Audi not the strongest in the straight line because it performs so well around the corners. Then Stem Pentas running in 13th. 14th is Alex Zanardi. But here's the lead battle with 12.5 minutes to go here at Algarve. It's just 0.4 of a second between Harry Procik leading the way and Max Goetz in second position. And ultimately, you won't get that many more points for winning the race today. But it's 8 points for a win and 6 points for second place. So,
but what you get is track position for the start of the championship race on Sunday. And track position is always going to be more valuable in terms of what you're going to do on Sunday. The difference between first and second and points will have a say at the end of the season, but we've still got another 3 rounds before that season comes to an end.
So Mike Basseng still pushing hard. The 2012 FIA GT1 World Champion alongside Marcus Winkelhock, who unfortunately has retired from this race, as did Giorgio Pantano after that incident. We also lost Paolo Pinheiro early on and Stefano Colombo as well. So 4 retirements so far in this race as they climb the hill once again out of the hairpin, and Mark Basseng is tucked right up behind Mathias Stump in front, but there's nothing he can do about it at the moment. Meanwhile, Harry Procik's just set a very fast middle sector, 0.3 of a second quicker than Max Goetz, so the gap at the front will have edged out a bit. Now this is Thomas Jaeger, who was closing in on Roman Rusinov, but I think he's been caught out behind Antonio Coimbra. I think this is another moment where, because there's the orange Lamborghini in front of Roman Rusinov, and I think the BMW is stuck here because he hasn't got as much straight line speed as the Mercedes.
That's the weakness for BMW. A back marker who by right should be given the blue flag at every corner is not being cooperative, and consequently the progress of Thomas Jaeger in his battle for 6th place with the second place, what was the second place Lamborghini of Thomas Enge and Roman Rusinov, and that's very tough for Thomas Jaeger. He's doing all he can, and he's just being simply outperformed in a straight line, and now there's a chance that behind him he's going to lose that position again with the Audi, number 4 Audi Vincent Abril, who got the momentum, and he's got to be defensive as well as attacking. So for Thomas Jaeger, it's a double-edged sword, this little particular position.
Absolutely, a very difficult one for Jaeger to try and manage as they come up the hill and down towards the hairpin. Just behind that was Lucas Wolf running very, very wide out of the left-hander, but there's nothing that Jaeger can do really, because the Mercedes got such poke in a straight line and he's losing time massively. That last lap, Thomas Jaeger did a 1 minute 47.8, which was 1.7 seconds slower than Rusinov in front of him, and 2 seconds slower than his personal best lap of the race so far. So this is really affecting the race for Thomas Jaeger with less than 10 minutes to go. And there you can see how quickly Vincent Abril has closed in as well since they got caught up behind Combois, and also joining in soon is going to be Lucas Wolf.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to say that Thomas Jaeger is going to be a sitting duck for the Audi behind Vincent Abril if he gets a good exit out of turn 15.
There he goes.
Gone through. Well, I mean, I wonder why that's taken so long. I mean, is there somebody not putting the message out that when you are being lapped by cars around you, you do give them the courtesy of letting them get the ground before you close the door?
And he's closed it now on Lucas Wolf, so Wolf will have to try and find a way past as well. But that releases then Thomas Jaeger, but he was 3 seconds back from Rusinov. It'll probably be more than that as they cross the line this time around. Yeah, it's 4.4 seconds, so he lost a good 3 or 4 seconds, I think, in that duel. He's now got the Audi right up behind him.
Yeah, I mean, that's the danger. The Audi is close to the back of the BMW, but Thomas Jaeger quick into the corner, late in the brakes, able to maintain that position. And we see this battle again. Harry Procik, I mean, the poor man has never had a chance to breathe all season. Every time he's behind the wheel of a car, he's always under pressure.
He is, as he comes through the double right-hander now, with Max Goetz right behind. Goetz took 0.3 of a second out of Procik in the first sector, but the Lamborghini tends to be quicker in the middle sector. Lights ablaze for Max Goetz, but I mean, the credit to Harry Procik, because as we say, he's been under pressure a lot this season. He's often had Goetz or Buch, perhaps with a quicker car behind, but not once has he let them get through yet.
Not only that, so far, and I hate to put the curse of the commentator on him, but he's not put a wheel wrong either, and that's what's impressive. is that he's got a great teammate in Jerome Blancpain, who I think Harry Project would acknowledge is the quicker of the two drivers. But what Harry Project is doing is a very solid, good job backing up all the work done by Jerome Blancpain in the open stint. And again, the gap you can see just as they come out of turn 14 into 15, fractionally beginning to ebb away again in the favour of the Lamborghini.
7 minutes and 20 seconds to go across the line, and the gap is up to 0.8 of a second between Harry Project, the race leader, and Maximilian Goetz in second place. And in the other order, those are our top two in the championship as they come down through the right-hander. And there you can see Thomas Enger going through, and he's now down in sorry, not Thomas Enger, Roman Rusinov down in 6th position. As he, well, that car has a lot less pace in the race than it did in qualifying. Qualifying, he managed to put it on pole, but in race trim, it's the Grasser Lamborghini that's much quicker.
I mean, I think when you go for pole position, you've got, you know, it's a single flying lap. It's just about getting the tyre position absolutely perfect over a long run, and you want to have a car that is good over a long run, that doesn't abuse its tyres. And, you know, we're talking about the circuit, how much the circuit has changed since its instigation. It's become more bumpy in places, and that has a bearing on even two identical cars may be different in their setups, and even that could be a contribution. You're not adapting your car to the particular requirements of a racetrack. Maybe Grasser Racing have done a slightly better job than the G-Drive Racing, which is essentially a Reiter engineering car.
There you can see Max Goetz just dropping back slightly over the past couple of laps from Harry Project in front of him. The gap now up to 0.8 of a second, whereas it was 0.4 of a second a couple of laps ago. As they fly out through the right-hander.
I tell you what, look at Harry Project. He wrings the neck of that Lamborghini as he turns it. The whole car just sort of gets up on the, almost like the metaphoric balls of its feet, and it just teeters on the point, and then it settles again, and he's through the corner.
Down into turn number 1. 5.5 minutes to go. Still Enzo Eid comfortably clear of Cesar Ramos in 4th place. Thomas Jaeger, has he managed to start the close in again on Roman Rusinov? No, not really. It's still about 5.5 seconds. In fact, he's got Vincent Abril right up behind him still. And Bueno and Stumpf are still right together for 10th and 11th places, with Basseng and Stempentis in that crew as well. So battles throughout the field, but the race lead is very, very close at the moment.
Maximilian Goetz has.
This is Vincent Abril trying to get past Thomas Jaeger in the battle over 7th position. Abril right up behind the BMW as they come down to the hairpin. Will he fancy a look to the inside this time around? Not quite.
No,
Abril is leading the Silver Cup, but the car behind is second in the Silver Cup, Lucas Wolf. So this could get very interesting, especially with the straight line speed of that Mercedes.
Yeah, I mean, not that the Thomas Jaeger is deliberately letting the Audi draw up to the back of the BMW, and of course letting the Mercedes draw to the tail of the Audi. Thomas Jaeger is doing the best he can to try and run down the 6th place Roman Rusinov in the what was pole position Lamborghini. And Vincent Abril, he's very racy, looking to dive down the inside. Not a good place to do it, and the door firmly shut by Thomas Jaeger. But Vincent Abril needs to be aware that behind him he could have a challenge and a threat to what would be the lead of that class.
8th place at the moment for Abril, 7th place with the BMW in front, which is Thomas Jaeger, and then behind is Lucas Wolf in the 2nd HTP Motorsport Mercedes, 3rd HTP Motorsport Mercedes, I should say. Currently 2nd, 5th and 9th, the HTP cars, as they come out onto the start-finish straight, all of them going very wide on the exit of the final
Thomas
corner.
Jaeger particularly was well and truly off the racetrack. Just quick look into the faces of Vincent Vance and Pierre Dudonné, as again the BMW has to be defensive on the entry into turn 1.
Oh, I thought he was going to go for the outside there, Abril, but that could compromise him, because here now surely will come Lucas Wolf. He's not quite close enough, but another moment like that and Wolf will be there to try and take advantage of that, I think.
Yeah, that was, I mean, testy stuff for Thomas Jaeger and for Vincent Abril. There was almost a point where I thought Abril could make the cutback into turn 3, but he didn't really have quite the ground to do it. Down again into turn 5. You can see the front of the Audi as it patters over the bumps, and the braking zone as they come down that hill. So Mercedes dropping back fractionally from the tail of these two cars battling, currently over 7th place.
Gap at the front is down to 6 tenths of a second, but it's still, oh, here's the overlap for Abril. Has he managed to get it out of the corner? It's a good move from Abril, but the next hander's a left-hander. He's going to try and go all the way around the outside. Great stuff from Vincent Abril. Now he'll have the inside line, and the WRT Audi goes through. We saw Abril flying at the end of the qualifying race in Slovakia, and he's doing it again here.
And that, as to me, is the overtake of the race so far. To do it around the outside of turn 9, up the hill into turn 10 takes, believe me, a lot of commitment, and that was what you just watched there. Young man, fully committed and going for it. Credit to Thomas Jaeger, he could have squeezed him, pushed him, he didn't do it, and that was good motor racing.
On to the penultimate lap of the race now, with Harry Project leading the way. Maximilian Goetz is behind him in 2nd place as they turn through the right-hander once again. It's these two who have been untroubled really, and only that one real attempt from Maximilian Goetz to get past in the early stages. They come down towards the hairpin, and possibly a little bit more rain out there coming just towards the end of the race. Not even towards the end of the race, it pretty much is the end of the race, but we're seeing a few spots. We'll see whether it has any impact. Into the double right-hander of 8 and 9. 1 minute and 10 seconds left on the clock, so this will be the penultimate lap. What has Max Goetz got? Look at the clouds. Does Max Goetz have anything? 4 tenths of a second out of the Lamborghini on that last lap. Has he been saving himself for a final lap charge as they come out through the Portuguese countryside? Still Enzo Ede in 3rd place. He's lapped pretty consistently with those guys for the entirety of his stint. Project's going to have to do one more lap of pressure from Maximilian Goetz behind him. The championship leader, Max Goetz, 18 points clear of Bleekemolen and Project as they come through the final corner to start the final lap of the race. Across the line, what's the difference? It's just under 7 tenths of a second, and look at the windscreen wipers on Enzo Ede's car further back in 3rd place. Do we have a final twist in the tail? As the clock counts down to 0, there's Johan Bleekemolen on the right, Gottfried Grasser on the left. Willing Harry Project to hold on and to take their first win since the qualifying race in Zandvoort. All the way back in July. To the hairpin. And oh, there's a spin for Thomas Jaeger. What's happened to Thomas Jaeger? Such a shame. He had such a good drive, but he has ended up facing backwards. I think that's down at turn 1. Yes, it is. Here's a look at the replay. He's gone defensive. Lucas Wolf has tried to go around the outside, and away goes the back end. And Thomas Jaeger will be so frustrated with himself for that, because he was running up in 8th place, and he has now dropped behind Wolf. I think both the Brazilian BMWs went past him. He's probably down in about 14th position now. But here are our race leaders. Only a few corners to go now. Climbing up the hill through the left-hander. Harry Project has been asked many a time this season to hold the lead of the race, to hold his nerve when under attack from drivers behind him. And every time so far, he has managed to do so. Through the final corner comes Harry Project. Jeroen Bleekemolen qualified the car second, took the lead of the race, handed over to Harry Project, and the checker flag is waved, and Project wins the qualifying race here in the Algarve. 2nd place then for Max Goetz and Max Buch, 3rd for Enzo Ede, 4th place is going to be Cesar Ramos, Afanasiev finishing in 5th in the 2nd HTP car, 6th across the line for Roman Rusinov, the pole-sitting car, and 7th will surely be Vincent Abril. There's Marc Bassin coming through to finish in 12th by the looks of things. Oh no, he might have made up a few places actually. He might be 11th because of the spin for Thomas Jaeger on that last lap. Yes, Bassin across the line in 11th. Vincent Abril wins the Silver Cup. Marc Bassin and Alessandro Latif win the Pro-Am class There's Zanardi finishing down in 14th place after a difficult race with contact with his teammate on the opening lap of the race. There are the Grasser Racing team. Jeroen Bleekemolen sending a text. We won, Mum, or something like that, probably. Across the line comes Combra and Sasha Halleck as well, finishing down in 16th place, Sasha Halleck. Well, an action-packed opening few minutes. Great close battling throughout the entirety of this Blancpain sprint race here in Portugal. As the cars make their way back around to the grid, there is Harry Procek, race winner along with Jeroen Bleekemolen. 4th race win of the season, 3rd qualifying race win of the season. They had to work very hard for it indeed. There's Enzo Eid, who I think will be pretty happy with 3rd place to be starting there tomorrow. The drivers who finish this race will start the race tomorrow. As they flash past the marshals and head into the pit lane. 4 retirements in the end. Fingelhock and Mayer Malnoff in the Phoenix Audi, Pantano and Anidi in the Bizek McLaren, Paolo Pinheiro in the Sports and New Mercedes, and Stefano Colombo out on the opening lap of the race. 32 laps it took for Harry Procek to win this 1-hour race in Portugal. Had a bit of a safety car period as well. But there is the Austrian from Nittelfeld, just by the, well, what was the Oostenrijk ring and has now become the Red Bull ring. Started racing way back in the 90s in Formula Koenig, the junior single-seater championship, and then took a break from racing before returning in the mid-2000s doing the Clio Cup and the Mini Challenge. And now here he is, winning again on one of the biggest GT stages. And he pulls into the pits, and John Watson will be down there for us in a moment to have a word with him. You can see there was definitely some spots of rain towards the end of that race. And there is rain over the hills, actually. Enzo Eid, 3rd place for here in René Rast. And after starting 3rd on the grid, 3rd place in the race, I think will be a satisfactory result for Eden Rast. But there is Jeroen Bleekemolen opening the door. And it was a really impressive defence from Harry Procek. Around the outside, down at the hairpin, he managed to hold it. And that was very impressive indeed. Max Book just checking out his Mercedes that has finished in 2nd place. And we can now go down and hear from our race winners.
Jerome, congratulations, flag to flag victory.
Yeah, great. It was the hard work today. I thought looking at after the practice and the qualifying we were going to be very strong in the race as well, but actually they were catching me when the tires went off, so maybe we have to work on setup, but anyway, to win is great, of course.
Great pit work to get Harry Procek back out in the lead. It was almost the Mercedes got ahead of him.
Yeah, he did a great job, because actually on that lap when I came in it started to rain into turn 1, and obviously Guts had already the feeling of how the track was, and he had to kind of feel it, so I was surprised he could keep it up and stay in front on this first lap out, but afterwards, yeah, he could pull away a little bit, and yeah, it was just a great performance.
But what is it about poor Harry? Every time he gets into the car, he's under pressure all the way through. Let's get him over. Harry!
Yeah. Hi, my friend.
Harry, turn around. Congratulations, fantastic drive. How is it every time you leave the pits, you're under pressure for your entire stint?
You know, before the season we talk about with my sponsor if it's necessary that we get a real pro for possibility to drive here. Fuck no, because he gives me the car in front, so I have always a lot of pressure, but this makes a lot of fun, because when you drive alone it's much easier than when you are 7, 8 or 9 or something else. was perfect. He made a perfect job. I have only to drive to the checkered flag.
Harry, I have to apologise, a little bit of a slip of the tongue with some of the language. Anyway, I mean, a great race, you two guys, great partnership, and starting pole position tomorrow.
Yeah, it's great, but now we really have to focus on getting the points there, because today it's a tough race. It's as tough as the main race, but you don't get so many points. So tomorrow is the main thing. We really have to make up some points to the Mercedes.
Well done, guys. Congratulations.
Thanks.
Great to hear from our race winners. Apologies again for Project's little slip of the tongue, as John says, but you can appreciate where he's coming from with a driver of your own Blancpain's capabilities. So they win the race. Max Goetz and Max Buch finished in second place.
Congratulations to the Maxis. First of all, Max Buch, welcome back.
Thanks. Yeah.
Is that it?
Yeah, that's it. I'm very happy to
back with the second place, and that's all I get.
Yeah, you know, I'm so super happy that I can drive back on track, and being back with the podium is much sweeter. And yeah, I'm super happy to be back in the car, back on track, back with all my people, back with Maxi together in the car. It's very a pleasure for me to be here again.
Max Goetz, at the end of the pit stops, it looked like you might just sneak the lead, but the Lamborghini just about made it.
Yeah, I was beside him in corner 4 on braking. I was inside, he was outside, but yeah, I was not so pushing because I want to survive the race. Because tomorrow we need a good starting place. Yeah, but in the end he used his tire quite good, and he drove away a bit. But in the end I could come closer all the time. But in the last sector, you know, we lose compared to the Lambo too much, and then we are not able to overtake them after the start and finish straight. So yeah, we have to find something for tomorrow to attack.
You say that, but you two guys have had the quickest car all weekend, 275 kilometers per hour at the end of the straight.
Yeah, so we raised the speed up from here to the end. So the first meters after the last corner, the Lambo is a bit lighter than us, so he had a little advantage, so he can be more faster through the corner. And yeah, we lose a bit there, but you know, we are not able to go faster in the moment.
Great to see this partnership back, this pairing back. Look forward to it tomorrow.
Yeah, we try the best. We are leading the championship, and we try to win tomorrow.
Thank you.
Good to hear from the two Maxis then, and Buch and Goetz, the two drivers who finished in second place behind Project and Blancpain, which means that the lead at the top of the championship has come down to 16 points between Max Goetz, who's at the top, and Project and Blancpain, who are chasing. So third place in that race finished René Rast and Enzo Ede. Now we can hear from them there with John Watson in the pits.
René Rast, Enzo Ede, third place, but that was hard work the first stint for you. All over the back of the Lamborghini, but never quite able to get the position.
Yeah, they had a bit of advantage in the corners, and we were a bit fast in the straights, but nevertheless I had also some pressure from behind, so I could never really attack. In the end, I think Thomas Enger made a small mistake in the last corner. I could pass him on the inside. But yeah, it was a good race for us. I think this was the maximum we could do today, third place. And they did a brilliant job at the end, so yeah, we're happy.
A small mistake on TV, it looked massive. I can't imagine what it looked like from your position.
Yeah, you were sideways maybe 50 meters, so in this corner especially, it's like a fifth gear corner with 220 k's maybe. To be sideways there, it must be a moment for him.
I think you were smiling all the way down the pit straight.
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
Enzo, good drive. You must be happy with it.
Yeah, it's okay. Third place. I think this was the maximum we could get. We lose some speed in the straight lines, so we see the gap stayed all the time the same in my stint. So I think it's the best we could get. So let's push tomorrow and try to have a good start.
Now, Enzo, you say you lost some straight line speed. Was that all down the straight or just in certain parts of the straight?
All down the straight.
Are you sure?
Probably, yeah. I'm quite sure.
Enjoy it all tomorrow. Look forward to seeing you two guys.
Thank you.
So Enzo's actually spot on there. Their actual lap times in that second stint were pretty strong in comparison with the race leaders. So if they'd got out closer to the top two, they'd have run at a similar pace, I think. And congratulations with Enzo Ede and René Rast for their third place finish. And they'll now make their way towards the podium. Silver Cup winners in that Vincent Abril. Here's a look at the results after the qualifying race then. 32 laps completed, and the Lamborghini Gallardo FL2 of Grasser Racing with Harry Projek and Jeroen Bleekemolen win the race, and they'll start on pole position for the main race tomorrow. Second place, Max Buch and Max Goetz, bringing the gap at the top of the championship down to just 2 points, down by 2 points to 16 points. Third place for Enzo Ede and René Rast, 4 seconds back in the end, and then in fourth place, the number 1 Audi of Cesar Ramos and Laurens Vanthoor, and they will be desperate to try and get a good start tomorrow and try and get a good result finally in a main race, because they've struggled so far this season. Sergei Afanasiev and Steph Dusseldorp finishing in 5th position, and then in 6th place the pole position car. Thomas Eng started it, had a moment through the final corner, he handed over to Roman Rusanov, and they finished down in 6th place. Silver Cup winner Vincent Abril and Matej Sosowski, Wolf and Stoltz second in the Silver Cup, Bueno and Jimenez for Team BMW Brazil in 9th place ahead of their teammate Stump and Piquet Jr. Making our way further down, it was 13th in the end for the BMW Trophy Team Schubert car of Jaeger. Onto the top step of the podium for the 4th time this season go Harry Projek and Jeroen Bleekemolen. They have won the most amount of races so far this year. Interestingly, it's only been 1 win for Max Buch and Max Goetz. There's been 2 wins for Cesar Ramos and Laurens Vanthoor, but it's the top step for Bleekemolen and Projek. And Gottfried Grasser joining them up there as well for the Austrian national anthem in honour of the Grasser team. See the drivers on the podium as the flags are hoisted up behind them. Quite a blustery day, and as they stand up there, you can really sense, John, the sort of admiration and the respect that Projek has for Bleekemolen.
Oh, very much so. I mean, I think you're looking at one of the top GT drivers in the world, and what a great tutor to have to bring you forward. And Harry, apart from dropping the odd expletive, didn't mean to do that, but he's learning, and it's a great way to go through your career with a maestro like Jeroen Bleekemolen.
Absolutely. So there are the trophies now being handed out. First of all, the 3rd place cups to Enzo Ede and René Rast. 2nd place going the way of Maximilian Buch and Maximilian Goetz. And the biggest trophies of all going to our race winners, Harry Projek and Jeroen Bleekemolen, for the 4th time this season on the top step of the podium here in Slovakia.
When we were off camera, I had a chance to speak to Jeroen and just ask him what was the problem with the call to the steward's office, and it was apparently to do with the speed at which Bleekemolen was getting away or whatever from the car after the change. Funny enough, they happened to have it on camera themselves, so they're able to give the evidence, and it was satisfied the stewards, and therefore there was no penalty given.
So there's the champagne being handed out. We are, of course, in Portugal, not Slovakia. Like I just said, we're in the Algarve, down in the south of the country, as the champagne is sprayed here after an entertaining qualifying race, and that has set the grid for the main race tomorrow. Jeroen Bleekemolen and Harry Projek will start on pole position, and Bleekemolen, with good starts, will be hoping to do the same job again tomorrow.
Yeah, but interestingly, Bleekemolen was saying again, just before we got to the interviews, that they need to do a bit of work on the setup of the car there. Now, he's not satisfied with the performance of the car once the tyre goes through its cycle and then goes into that period when it's settled. And again, this thing about on the circuit there are bumps, and if you get that sequence of bumps out of sequence, it sets up a sort of an unpleasant feeling through the car, which sometimes means you lose confidence in what you got. And we saw on the other Lamborghini of Thomas Enge, when that stepped sideways, it was massive.
So here's a look at the points then in the championship. As you can see, 16 points between Max Goetz and Jeroen Bleekemolen. They are 16 points behind Maximilian Goetz up at the top. Max Buch is now level on points with them. Enzo Ede and René Rast are 4th in the championship. Caca Bueno and Sergio Jimenez in 5th place. So that concludes the action here from the Algarve in Portimao. Make sure you join us tomorrow for the main race, but from myself, Jack Nicholls and John Watson, we'll see you then. Thank you very much for joining us. The main race gets underway 2:45 local time tomorrow.